first game of the weekend, though, in the Premier League involves the league leaders. So I want to make this a little bit broader as far as the previews and the analysis concerned. Not just what do you think, Liverpool against Palace at Selhurst Park, but more so what we've seen so far and the title contenders, because Liverpool can extend their lead at the top against Palace, who've not been great this season. Eza's yet to get form. Defensively, they've looked a bit ropey. Will they fancy their chances at all against a Liverpool side that's going along nicely?
Probably not, is the short answer to that question. And listen, I think Liverpool have been far better. Oh, let me see. I wasn't quite sure what to expect of Liverpool. We know how good Liverpool can be at their best. We know some of the disappointments of Liverpool, and we've kind of endured that over the last couple of seasons. But a new manager coming in, succeeding somebody like Jurgen Klopp, you never know what you're going to get. And Arne Slot has kind of fit in wonderfully well. And credit to Liverpool. They are top of the table, deservedly so. I don't think you can question that. You can make a lot of the loss against Nottingham Forest. But as fixtures go, Liverpool have dealt with what's ahead of them, with one exception, wonderfully well.
Are they a better team on the road in the Premier League? They've played 3 and they've won 3, and they've scored more goals away from home than they have at home. Is their style better suited when the home team's kind of obliged to maybe have more of a go than just go to Anfield and sit in?
Maybe so. But still, as pleased as I am with Liverpool's start under Arne Slot, I don't know how good they still are. I still don't know exactly how good they are. For my money, I think the best 2 teams in the league are Manchester City and Arsenal. And I know right now Liverpool sit atop the table, and as I said, deservedly so. But then you look at those fixtures. As we speak right now, Mark, Liverpool's toughest opponent has been Nottingham Forest at 10th. And they're probably only 10th because of those 3 points that Nottingham Forest got against Liverpool. So they've not played anybody in the top half-ish, let's say, of the table. So while, yes, they're ticking along very nicely, they're scoring goals, they're traveling well, it's not been that difficult a test for them so far. That will come, and I think that we'll have a better idea of exactly how good Liverpool are. Saying that, if you're in the position that Liverpool are, if I'm a player in that dressing room, a new manager coming in, you couldn't pick those fixtures any better, where you want those easier games because winning just is such a boost in confidence. You feel that you can buy into what Arne Slot is selling, and that pays huge dividends. Had it been a more difficult start and they lost their first game to Manchester City and their second game to Arsenal, who knows what kind of a conversation we'd be having around the very same Arne Slot.
Let's talk about the other 2. The 2 you say that are still your title favourites ahead of Liverpool. They've got identical records. They've both won 4 and they've drawn 2. One of the draws was against each other. Manchester City drew last week at Newcastle, and Arsenal drew at home to Brighton. Now, you can have an asterisk beside that. Yeah, they had 10 men, but that was stupidity from Declan Rice. Regardless of what you think on whether or not you think it was a soft one or whatever, he's delayed the restart. Referees are told that that's a second yellow card. So they had to play with 10 men for a chunk of that game, and they drew at home to Brighton. I don't think either have been at their best as yet, but that's not really easy to do at the start of the season. Who's been better so far from what you've seen in the 6 games that they've played, Manchester City or Arsenal?
I chose Arsenal to win the title this year before a ball was kicked, and I'm sticking with that right now.
Okay.
The reason being, I just feel that Arsenal are far harder to beat. I think City will score more goals, but at times, maybe that doesn't quite click. Maybe Erling Haaland, though I will say he's shown no sign of this so far, but maybe he has an off day. Who knows? Who knows what the issue may be? But I think given Arsenal's defense, given their defensive record, given the form of David Raya, and I hasten to add that because I have been more critical of David Raya than most, but I think as good as his defense has been, he has been outstanding and looked confident, looked a presence between the sticks that I don't think we saw at any point last season. I just feel that even when Arsenal aren't anywhere near their best, they still pick up a point. And that for me will ultimately prove to be the difference, I believe, to be the two.
And that's a really good point. I've just been looking, and it's something that I read earlier, and I want to bring it up right now. I think that since the start of last season, Manchester City have only kept 14 clean sheets in the Premier League. Now, listen to this, okay? Aston Villa, Luton, Wolves, West Ham, Ipswich, Brentford, and Arsenal. Those are the last 7 teams that have gone to the Etihad in the Premier League. They've all scored. You have to go back to, I think it's the end of March, the goalless draw against Arsenal. That's the only time that City have kept a clean sheet. And prior to that, it was Brentford in February. So yes, they can score, but Arsenal seem to be the team more likely to get the 1-0, even though it might be 2 or 3, because City will be like 5-1, 4-1. But what is the problem at the back for City? Why do so many sides with a really low expected goals still manage to go there and find the back of the net when they go to City?
And that's a tough question to ask. And I just wonder if it's because of how City play with their defense pushed very high up, that at times they get exposed at the back, and teams know that they can sit in, they can frustrate and hit Manchester City on the break because their defenders get involved in their attack, and because John Stones will step out from his defensive duties into midfield. That there are opportunities there, to get at Manchester City. And I think this season, probably even more than most, you'll see more and more teams do that. I think one of the weapons that City use when teams sit in a very low block came in the form of Rodri and his ability to shoot from distance. Now we all know the Rodri stats and how important he is to Manchester City, but one of the reasons for that is his ability to shoot from distance. So you sit on your 6-yard box, for argument's sake, and you just crowd that 18-yard area and you don't allow Erling Haaland any space. They can tee Rodri up, and that draws your defense out. Now, without Rodri, and we've seen that. Without Rodri, I'm trying to remember who was it that Rodri got hurt against? Arsenal.
Against Arsenal,
There was nobody who kind of stepped out, and City were forced just to go from side to side, without ever really hurting Arsenal. And then they get that late goal, and obviously that changes how so much of the game kind of looked, but it doesn't change how it felt that City were being frustrated. And for me, I think that may prove City's undoing, or more to the point, teams' abilities to maybe keep clean sheets, knowing that they're vulnerable on the counter-attack.
The other team I want to talk about, just to whether it's title contenders, they've started well, as Chelsea, but I want to do that in just a second. Just before we do that, Manchester City have got Fulham, Arsenal have got Southampton. Both should win this weekend. They're both at home, but Fulham's a tougher game. Fulham are doing all right this season, 3 wins and 2 draws, just the 1 defeat up to 6th. They can maybe cause 1 or 2 issues for City, couldn't they?
Yeah, listen, I think Fulham are a good team, but the trouble is, Mark, when you think of City, you can't help but think of City at their best. And City at their best,
the team
have the bettering of Fulham without question. Will be a test, but I expect City to come through. And then, Arsenal, I don't feel have any issues at all with Southampton.